It's one of those days I'm bored as fuck. So what the hell? Let's do another Iroquoian story that comes from my mind, of course. No, I did research. When I was a kid, I did a lot of research. In them libraries back then. The secret rooms of the libraries with my favorite women, of course, which are librarians. Librarians are they are like unique individuals, okay? The library women are unique individuals, I will tell you. I don't have any discord around librarians. I actually like librarians. So, yeah, I did a lot of research as a kid on mostly blood types because I have some missing links in my blood. And I did try a few experiments on my own. I had my running list of all the animals and insects that I allowed to bite me so that I was hoping to change my blood a little bit. My doctor found it pretty amusing. He told my mother to keep the list at a minimum, but there was nothing wrong with it, what I was doing. So, oh yeah, I was probably one of her most interesting nature children by a long shot. So let's see, Iroquoian story. Let me see. Let's talk identity theft. I've had a lot of identity theft in my life. People like to fuck with other individuals by scalping their information and using it the wrong way. And unfortunately, here in the United States, let's just say there's no place where you can go to resolve these issues. And going through the courts and all that shit, they don't understand. Like, it's so over their head. So, even switching letters in somebody's name, misspelling someone's name, that's a form of identity theft. So and not only is it a form of identity theft, but official documents have to be printed correctly in order to perfect them, regardless of the case brought before the court. So if the identity doesn't match, look at your Social Security card. If that's your primary source of identity, if it doesn't match exactly letter for letter, the whole thing can get dismissed, okay? Because you can run a scan today. You couldn't do it when I was growing up. But the internet can provide you with how many John Does are out there, Jane Does, in the United States, okay? So to properly identify an individual to bring forth any type of action is really essential, all right? And you can't get this, regardless of the laws that they put in place on identity theft and things that are prohibited by the courts to do, those nut jobs don't take their job serious. And even if you try to argue the point with them that you got something wrong, either in your paperwork, one mistake leads to another mistake, which leads to another mistake, which leads to another mistake. And these mistakes snowball, okay? So lesser the mistakes, the more accurate the information presented in front and moving forward. It doesn't matter if you're dealing with the courts or you're just dealing with business or personal life in general, okay? But I don't know what it is. Government employees can't figure this shit out. Accounting people can figure this shit out, but government employees cannot figure it out. They will argue, okay? So let's do a little Ericorian story. It's back in the day, okay? Back when there was actually peace on this earth, in the unsettling portion of life came about, believe it or not, an argument over names. So, you know, as I've said before, my favorite is Hiawatha. And there's a few others out there, so I'll use Hiawatha. If the stream of blood coming from the same pool of water carried the name Hiawatha, and at some point in time, the argument based on the name carrying the blood caused turbulence with others, and arguments arose. It would almost be true to many facts, let alone fictions, of things that did take place prior to the presence of the white man. Because with all indications known, both in blood and in water, there was disputes that broke loose. And with all disputes, fighting occurs. And so the shedding of blood in this continent did not first come about by the white man. That blood was equally matched by other like-sized blood types. And so the point was well proven after the fighting and the number of people that got laid down in the process over a minor dispute that could have been handled quite differently. So once again, knowledge put people in places more like in charge back in those days. But it wasn't just knowledge, because you had to hold your long-standing ways, historical ways, ancestral ways. And those who failed to follow the ways of their ancestors lost position both in authority and with land. So after the blood was shed over the dispute that came and originated from the name, the long-standing name from the same pool of water, also known as blood, there was a change that went into effect, and that change was a short-lived change, but it signified the prior events. So the name Hiawatha, came about. And from that point forward, things started to change, because orders from the top began to resonate over the people. And part of those orders were that there will be no killing of your own blood or the same types of blood that border you. It was forbidden. So, and there shall be no disbursement changes of names. The names prior to that required multiple levels of approval, even for a single individual. They saw in the future, of course, this identity theft where, there's a million people out there with the same exact name. I wouldn't say a million, but there's hundreds. And without some way to manage that properly, people are incorrectly charged, not just in dollars and cents, but as we've seen in our own court system, a name on a piece of paper sets forth an action. And without properly identifying that person, the action could be set forth on the wrong individual. So, while everything was now placed under a set of orders amongst the people, no one made movement, changes, whatever, without a set of orders. And while all that was going on, the reason why is because they had the older blood had the skills and the ability to correct their mistakes, even involving death. So if somebody was laid down, there's reasons why somebody should be laid down, and then there's reasons where they shouldn't have been laid down, but they kind of like got caught in the mix, okay? And for those people, technically they're all innocent and they died for no valid reason. Dying for a valid reason is a good thing. Dying for a reason that's not valid is not a good thing. So, while the older blood types were working on how to reverse the mistake of the people that were made, laying down blood that didn't get a chance to fully live a full life, orders came about. And so, yeah, that's right. They had the skills and the ability to recreate life that was once standing upright and moving around. The same exact life. They had the skills and the abilities to do that. So, somewhere in that whole process, they started trying to figure out, with all their knowledge, how do they go back in time to basically reset the clock before the argument occurred to bring back these people that should have never died. And they found the answers to that. And then I like to say the devil stepped in, because somebody by the name of Alexander, I think he was actually chosen to test out the time zone reversal process. And, well, let's just say more people died in the process because they'd no more than get the ones through that should have never went down to begin with, and they'd be in the wrong location or something like that. And then, they'd be killing these other people. So, like, it was like this, it's almost like they replaced the kill with more innocent people. So eventually they stopped the kill altogether until they could figure it out and make it work correctly. So, Arachorian knowledge is out there. You just need to know where to go and how to find it. But I always like these doctors nowadays where they pretend, doctors and veterinarians. They pretend to have the skills and the knowledge to save lives, but it all hinges on dollar bills. Now, some would argue the point that once you take on that type of position that you would, I don't know, save a few lives without the dollars. But in general, they don't do stuff like that. So, it's probably a matter of morals and ethics, but more it's a matter of dollars and cents, saving lives. Interesting, isn't it? It all started with an argument over changes in identity. That later, down the road, the white people came, they acquired the names, made a mockery of the names, and used them in unfashionable ways. So, think about it. And if you have any questions, by the way, just let me know, because I talk in ways that I can understand things. Doesn't necessarily mean you understand what I'm saying.